Welcome to this conversation. And if you are meeting me for the very first time in your life, my name is Prima Jope. For more than 6 years, I was obsessed with strategy. Tell me where you're going, and I'll give you a plan to get there if I have been there. I taught strategy for over 6 years. My clients and I created results that were out of this world. My own life put me in situations where no matter what strategy I tried, it did not work. What I knew to work stopped working. What was working for everybody else stopped working for me. And what I realized in those moments is I had to go deeper than just strategy. And what I like to do these days is I like to document what I've done in those moments. And I love to support women who may be going through a season, a phase where what they know to work or where the strategy that is proven to work is simply not giving them the kind of results that they want. We all go through a season like that. If only my situation could change, then my life could get better. If only my money could get better, then I could hire that mentor. If only my partner could listen, our marriage could be way better. If only this child could behave, then we wouldn't be in so much trouble. If only I lived in a different country, then I would have a different result. If only my industry wasn't so crowded, then I'll probably have a better business. If only I understood marketing, if only I understood sales, if only I had this and this and this. If you're living in a country like I live, which is Uganda, you might even end up saying, if only the power and internet was stable, my business could get better. If only my in-laws could stay out of my way, oh my God, my marriage could get better, my life could get better. But every time I have those if only moments or seasons, what I notice is that my result does not change. 2 years, 5 years, 15 years, the result is still the same. You're still in the same marriage that is draining you. Your business is not further forward after many years of if only if this thing would have been better. Basically, life keeps giving you the same result. I want to share a story that is a little bit personal. There was a moment, a season in my life when I was married to Matt. It was both my lowest moment, but also the turning point that brought this work of my life fully alive. We had a way of having these arguments that were out of nowhere. They could start from anything, including nothing. If something would happen, and what would happen for me is I would hit a wall. I couldn't see how our lives could go through the years, the storms of life, if that mentality, that pattern, that behavior did not change. And I would sit on that wall and I would speak from that wall. And what followed was complete chaos after that. Matt rose up to defense. Needless to say that he's a barrister. But when you're trying to speak for yourself and trying to hold your argument, and you're speaking to somebody who is like a barrister, that can be, we're both equally determined to defend our point of view, but it led nowhere. In that moment, everything I learned about communication, about active listening, about the frameworks, about all the things that I knew what to do in a conflict vanished. It's like they were locked up in a box that I didn't have access to in that moment. For a long time, all I could see was how ridiculous my partner was being. All I could see was the reaction. All I could see was the avoidance of the topic. All I could see was their defense. And all I could see was how they were not getting the point. And the thing was that while everything started with me saying something, what I noticed is that my partner seemed to suffer way longer than I did. Like I could say what I wanted to say, I could see it wasn't manifesting into what I wanted, and I could move on to something else. But then I would look at my partner and one thing would lead to another, lead to another, lead to another. Before I know it, he can't go to a call, he can't deliver to a client, the client is canceling. So this 5 minutes of argument would end up giving him a weekend of hell. Because for him, that moment started to fuel every other thing he did. It was very exhausting just for me to watch. I can't even begin to imagine from where he sat how draining that might have been. I did that for 2 years. And when I looked at the pattern, my life was still the same. And then I thought, maybe I haven't created this entire storm. Maybe I'm not responsible for everything here. But at that point, I had been through enough of those moments to understand that I wasn't willing to keep doing what I was doing. I'd become honest with myself. And I was asking this question: what is the part of this storm that I contributed to? I later found there was subtle judgment. I was right and he was wrong. There was a desire to control the outcome. I want us to get better. And meanwhile, it's going to be done my way. So this feeling of my way or the highway, because I think I have something here that is going to make us better and you better see it. My fear of losing my marriage was at play. My failure to communicate what I wanted without making my spouse wrong. It wasn't everything, but it was just enough to get the storm in motion. I was putting in what I was putting in. I was getting the results I was getting. 2 years later, I wasn't further forward. Then I thought, what here is in my power to change? And what happened is that became the biggest turning point of my life. My lowest moment suddenly became my biggest turning point. I stopped looking at what was happening around me and I started asking a different question. What is my participation in this pattern? Because 90%, I couldn't trade my marriage for anything else. I also knew that my partner did not wake up to make my life miserable because we were fine on very many levels, including purpose. And so I wondered, how am I contributing to the 10% that is draining the relationship? Because to me, that 10% really felt like 110%. It was like the 90% was milk and the 10% was blood in the milk, which overpowers the milk. When I look back, I can see these turning point moments happened for me way long before I got married. Leaving my job became the reason that I birthed my own work. COVID in 2020 became the door that pushed me online. Losing my 6-figure business in 2022 forced me into deeper work than strategy could ever take me. At the time, those moments looked like a loss, but now I see they were turning points. Life wasn't taking something from me. It was asking me to access more of what I already had. So the turning point is an event, a life event that I wish I encountered when I was 13. When my mom first got a mental breakdown, I wish that somebody had this event that I now call the turning point that would help me see my life and my participation differently. So I am creating this for women who know that one area of life keeps giving them a result they do not want and they desire to change that result. Most times, when you've tried everything and it's not working, life may be asking you to look deeper. And what I do find now after talking to hundreds of women is that sometimes the shift you need is a different way to look at your situation. I'm excited to bring to you edition 1 of the Turning Point. At the time I'm recording this, there's a waiting list. There'll be a link to join that waiting list. And depending on when you access this video, there may or may not be a waiting list. But either way, when you click that link, it should get you to understand where we are with this event, the Turning Point. I'm so excited, and I'll see you inside.